Today I'm going to talk to you about the developmental stages of writing. I'm going to show you some examples of writing, some characteristics that you will see in each stage, and then what most importantly, where to go from there. I think that's the key for teachers. We know where the students are at. Now what do we need to do to make them better writers? I will not read everything on the slides, but you will have access to these slides and all the charts so that you can use it at your convenience. The first stage of writing is emergent writing. Here are some examples. Usually at this stage, writers use pictures as major emphasis for meaning. They attempt words and/or sentences with letters and sound connections. Generally, they have correct directionality. They produce text that is sometimes difficult to read. Where to go from here as a teacher? It's important that we're consistent with our spacing between words. We build a repertoire of sound and letter connections, build a repertoire of words, begin using writing as a central aspect of communication. The next stage is developmenting writing. At this stage, writing is a main communication, not picture dependent, even if connected to pictures. They write words, even sentences, but usually doesn't address mechanics. Attempts punctuation at times, but it may be wrong, and students create readable text even if it takes work for us to read. As teachers, when they're at this stage, we need to make sure we include more details to expand topic. We need to work with our sentence building. We need to focus on beginning and ending punctuation for sentences. And we need to help them consider the audience and write so that others can read the text. Our third stage is beginning writers. At this stage, the writer development is generally an expanded list of additional details or reasons. They may have simple organization, usually list or chronology, dependent on oral thought patterns. They write ideas as they occur. The writer may include too much detail or repetition. They are beginning to use capital letters and periods. They have simple sentence structure, usually subject verb, and they write so that others can read. As a teacher at this point, we need to make sure that we are expanding or explaining ideas in details rather than listing them. We're working with sentence building and some variety in their sentences where they keep working on their punctuation and that they start to consider the audience and purpose of their writing. And then we get to a novice writer. Novice writers, they seem to be aware of audience while they are writing. They address a specific topic and enhance that idea by adding supporting details. These writers may use a few transitions between ideas. They can wander off topic though at times. Generally, they have control over simple sentence structure along with beginning and ending punctuation. It is easy for an adult to read and understand a novice writer. As a teacher, we need to make sure that we consider effective wording and voice with these students. We work with sentence building and add more variety for them. We keep working on punctuation and expand their repertoire to include more sophisticated possibilities. There are some examples. Our next one is a bridging writer. Bridging writers address specific topics with detail from more than one aspect. They may have an unintentional voice in their writing, but they do pay attention to their word choice. They have evidence of writer's craft, which shows up as practicing elements such as leads, figurative language, organizational patterns, etc. They have enough focus to answer the question, what is this paper about? They have mechanics which are generally under control, but may have easy to spot errors. As a teacher, we need to help them think about topics and move toward choosing a focus about the topic, establishing a purpose for the writing. We need to help them expand and organize reasons and supporting details in a coherent way that fits the audience. We also need to make sure that they are craft sentences and that they expand organizational skills and patterns. Again, here are some examples of bridging writers. Then we get to expanding writers. At this stage, writers go more in depth with ideas. They consider the audience and the purpose. They demonstrate control over some aspects of writer's craft and experiments with others. They consider word choice and voice. They build sentences that are generally effective. We need to help them think about the topic and move toward choosing a sustainable focus. We need to help them keep building their skills in craft and variety in sentence structure. And we also need to expand their punctuation and mechanics to be able to use more complex sentence structures. That brings us to our last one, which is an independent writer. Independent writers explore focused topics with some depth and complexity. They write with purpose and audience in mind. They address issues of word choice. Sometimes they may overwrite as trying to experiment. They also may stumble with mechanics when experimenting beyond secure capabilities. And they use variety in sentence structures. As a teacher, we need to help them keep addressing their issues beyond the obvious while considering their complexity. We also need to experiment with organization, take risks, continue building their repertoire of complex, varied sentences. I believe that as a teacher, it's important to not only look at where your students fall, in which stage they're in, but also look at what can you do to help them. Keep pushing them to become better writers and pushing them into the next stage. As you go back and you read some of these examples that I have given you, you can really find the points that I talked about as the characteristics, but also the things that they also need to work on. Last but not least, I think it's always important for us to address the issue of writing for students with disabilities. There are some key elements that we as a general education teachers need to make sure that we are doing that will help our students with disabilities. Sometimes I feel like these students are the ones that get left behind because many of them not only see us, but also see the special education teacher during writing time. The key elements that we need to focus on is clear instructional and learning goals that help them reach the general education writing curriculum. It's also important for our instructional methods and our practices that we have a track record of helping students with disabilities learn writing skills and processes. Our materials and media that have documented effectiveness in helping students with disabilities learning writing skills and processes, that we supports and accommodates that have we use supports and accommodations that have a track record of helping students with disabilities learn writing skills and processes. We also have assessment with appropriate tools and procedures to track whether students with disabilities are meeting high standards in writing goals. We can do this by working with our special education teachers, having those meetings with them, talking with them, checking with them when we have our rubrics and our graphic organizers. They are the experts in our building when it comes to our students with disabilities. My last slide that you will see is my slide with my resources. All the information that I presented to you can be found at these two websites. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you.